need just a few more minutes for some of our technology. We'll be ready just a second. Talk much.
Well, okay, so the heat is off in the building, but I'm sorry, the AC is off, but the heat is not on. Mr. Shai, can you do anything about the temperature? That's what we're in the middle. Are you hot, Dr. Moore? Are you hot?
No, it's chilly.
I can
It's
bring
chilly.
I can bring my heater.
Ready? All right, very good. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, one more time, please. I'm sorry, one more time. I can just stay like that. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Y'all look good. The time now is 7:12, and so we'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Shay, may we have a roll call vote, please? I mean, a roll call to establish quorum.
Yes, Ms. Jackson. Dr. Yvonne Elliott,
Present.
Ms. Maura Real,
Present.
Ms. Lane,
Here.
Ms. Williams,
Present.
Dr. Coleman,
Present.
Ms. Tisworth.
Present. Thank you. At this time, Ms. Mario, may we have the reading of the norms?
Yes, thank you. The Board of Education norms. Item number 1 is cohesive team. Number 1, pause to hear all voices after someone speaks. Number 2, consider all opinions. Number 3, assume positive intentions. Under number 2, collective agreements. Collective voices to reach decisions. Number 2, honor and respect the work of the board. Number 3, honoring and supporting the board decisions at all times. Item number 3, be prepared for meetings. Number 1, the board will review the packet details and submit questions within the established time frame. Number 2, members of the board will arrive 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. And number 3, administration will release board packets to the Riverview Gardens Board of Education within the identified time frame. Under item 4, not allow outside entities to dictate board actions. Number 1, Riverview Garden Board of Education decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individual opinions or requests. And number 2, educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocols for voicing concerns. And that's policy KC, community engagement. Those are our board norms.
At this time, thank you. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda by moving the special meeting minutes to an item called items for action to go following the consent agenda. So it will be immediately after the consent agenda, the items for action with the approval of the special meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I will second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Dr. Von Elliott to move the special board meeting for October 29th, 24 minutes to the items for action immediately following the consent agenda. And it's been seconded by Ms. Margaret. Are there questions? Being there no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, let's move to Riverview Excellence. So we got excellence.
All righty. Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, community, and scholars. Tonight, you see, we have a packed house, many people for Riverview Excellence. Pardon me if I jump around in the order just a little bit, just because we have so many people, I'm going to be strategic about it. First, we would like to recognize Miss Jana Kipp. Miss Kipp, can you stand? Ms. Kipp is a social worker at Riverview Gardens High School, and she was recently honored at the Little Bits Foundation's Join the Journey Gala. She received the Spirit of the Little Bit Award, and that gala is a wonderful event. Many of you were there, and so that's a very prestigious award. Little Bit Foundation wrote that she is very passionate about supporting children and fostering positive change. As a social worker, she provides social, emotional support to students, addresses basic needs for families, and collaborates with various community agencies. So congratulations. I'm sorry, she's at Glasgow Elementary, not the high school, sorry. I'll give it, we'll take photos at the end, but I'm gonna give this to you now, Ms. Gibb. All right, next, Mr. Jonathan Haynes, can you please stand? Mr. Haynes, look, social studies teacher at the high school, and he was honored by Fox 2 News St. Louis on their Tools for Teachers segment. He received $500. Nobody asked him for a loan, but $500 for making a lasting impression with his students. He was honored for going above and beyond to help ensure that his scholars have all the tools and resources they need. And if you haven't seen that segment, make sure to go check it out. But it just talked about what he does for his students just to make sure they have everything they need. And a lot of students, I mean, a lot of teachers pay out of pocket to make sure that their kids have everything. And so we're honored that Mr. Haynes was honored for Riverview Gardens. I'm going to ask for Officer Quentin Williams. Clearly, no introduction is needed. Officer Q, as he is affectionately called. He was recently named Officer of the Year by the St. Louis County Police Department North Precinct for his platoon. In addition to serving as a SRO here in the district, Officer Williams is also an alumni of Riverview Gardens High School. He's also the program director for the Young Men of Vision, and he was honored by his department just for his commitment to going above and beyond for the citizens of North County. And we know that he always goes above and beyond for the scholars and the staff here at Riverview Gardens. So let's give him another round of applause.
Mr. Sistruck, I just want to say that Quentin was my student.
All right, all right. All right, and I'm not sure.
Okay, mama.
All right, is Naisha Williams here? Naisha Williams. Yeah. So Miss Naisha, she gets to go ahead and stand. She was nominated for demonstrating Rams Pride Daily. Naisha has a 3.3 grade point average with 96% attendance. Yeah.
Right.
And as a student athlete, she's earned varsity letters in basketball, soccer, and volleyball. She's been awarded all conference sportsmanship and honorable mention in volleyball. And she recently signed or a commitment to attend Missouri Valley College in Marshall, Missouri for volleyball, right? Are there any other sports, or tell us about your college plans? She's like, no. Nobody else spoke, so exactly. But let's give her a big round of applause. And actually, for this last one, I'm going to move the podium. So bear with me, because we have a big crowd here with this last one. I'm going to ask if Mr. Sultan Muhammad and his self-love group please stand. So Sultan Muhammad and his self-love program, which is based at Riverview Gardens High School, has made a monumental impact on the high school campus, whether it's through mentorship, conflict resolution, self-confidence, life skills, or simply connecting with RGSD's young men. Brother, self-love is making a difference. And you see, he brought a host of young scholars from the high school with him. Mr. Muhammad, do you want to speak a little bit about your program? Yeah.
I just want to say I'm honored. And it's what I said when I joined the team. People don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. What our young people need more than anything is love.
Yes.
And so with all that being said, these my guys. I told them I didn't know how y'all was gonna do this, but I said when I stand, everybody stand because we won. And we are one as a district. So last thing, let me say, teamwork make the dream work.
And so when we asked Mr. Muhammad, and let me give you this, to come up, we also asked him to invite some young men that have really stood out in his program. And so these are the young men that he's brought with him. So we want to give you an opportunity. Can be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but if you want to say something, go ahead and address. Starting on this end.
Oh man, my boys put me on the spot. I'm sorry, y'all. I just want to say this is a blessing, all glory to God. Just being a young man, I've learned a lot from this brother right here. We like family. He builds family. He don't build friends, he builds family. And I just want to say thank you once again, and it's just a beautiful thing. I could say more, but the point of self-love, it speaks enough for itself, like that. You hear that and it's like, where you get that from, Like when I first heard that, blew my mind, that's why we gotta be a force. We will continue to do that for the whole entire school to be a light. Oh, and also, my name is Keith Allenberry Jr., and it's a pleasure to see all of y'all here.
Lamarcus Stevenson, sophomore.
Marcus Thomas, junior.
Montez Rose, freshman.
Vontae Sanford, sophomore. Maurice Bailey, sophomore.
Devin Wallace, junior.
All right, so we typically, our board likes to take photos with our Riverview Excellence guests, so we'll do Brother Self Love and his crew first. Board, if you want to come around. And then for our other winners, we'll get you, we'll go in order. Officer Williams. Ms. Kip. One more after. Thank you. Oh, what happened? We missed out. Huh? Let's give them all a round of applause one more time. And that concludes Riverview Excellence. If you all need to leave, yeah, feel free.
Thank you for coming, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Parents, grandparents that showed up, thank you for being here. No, you cannot, Ishmael. We should do Riverview Excellence lab.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like some board meeting. Packed. Right. Okay. I don't know. Dr. Pam, maybe we should have kept him here.
I know, I said we need to do Riverview Excellence last.
Thank you so much. At this time, Shay, is there any patron for public comment?
No, we did not have any.
Thank you. Are there announcements from the board members?
I do.
Like you in thought, go ahead.
I'm excited to announce that on this Sunday, you all have heard of Iota Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated. They have honored a lot of our educators. Some of the ladies, along with myself, are chartering on this Sunday. So we are excited to be a part of the community, to also do additional events in the community. So we will be chartering on Sunday, and we will be the Eta Gamma chapter of Iota Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated. And so it does welcome professional women into the organization. It's historically African-American professional women that join. So I'm looking forward to that. So I just want to share that excitement.
And for those of you who did not get an opportunity to attend the Little Bit Foundation dinner, I want to say that Precious Berry, our former, our alumni from Riverview Gardens, was also acknowledged there, and she had an absolutely beautiful presentation talking about how the Little Bit Foundation was beneficial to her and what it meant for her as a student here in Riverview Gardens. It's absolutely beautiful, wonderful, touching. Yes.
That also, I have the
Ms.
honor,
Lane, your mic.
There you go.
I have the honor to attend the National Council of Negro Women's luncheon, where our former superintendent, Dr. Joylyn Pruitt Adams, was recognized as one of the 10 hidden treasures in our community. And it really made me think about the things that we do that we're not trying to be exposed or hold ourselves up to any light. It's just natural. And she fits definitely that honor. And it was a very nice luncheon that we had a chance to attend.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You all hear me?
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, State Representative Marlene Terry hosted a Be a Buddy, Not a Bully event at Riverview, Lewis and Clark Elementary School. It was a great success. We had a lot of different people come out. It was really good. So I want you all to pay attention to that and listen to the fact that bullying is bad in our district. In that the area over there, it's really bad. So what we're doing is we're taking an initiative that to the end of this year, every month we're gonna do something to let those kids know that we're not gonna tolerate bullying, that we're gonna address it, that we're gonna bring it forward, and they're gonna be held accountable. Next month, and I know it's gonna be maybe me and Snow outside, but I wanna say the first Saturday in next month, we're gonna do an anti-bullying walk through Castle Point, where we're partnered with All Hoods United, the committee woman of St. Ferdinand. She's gonna be her organization. And we're just gonna walk the neighborhood to let kids know that we're there for them. It's okay to come talk to us and let us know that something's going on and it needs to be addressed. So again, I just wanna thank Marlene Terry, because she came out, she hosted the whole event. She brought a lot of different organizations out there to give the kids a different sense and of people being there and being a part of the community. And the kids are really excited. One of the kids asked me today, well, when are we gonna do that bullying thing again? So it's something that the kids are interested in, and a lot of kids were able to come out and say, hey, this is what's happened to me and I don't like it. So if you all also follow Facebook, you'll see every day we have a different child that is hosted on a page on Facebook, and they're just talking about bullying. They're talking about how it's affected them, what it means to be bullied, and how not to bully. So that is something that we're really pushing hard. And I know we're pushing the Castle Point district area because it's really bad. So hope you all can come out and join us for that walk.
When is the walk again?
It's supposed to be the first Saturday in December.
Okay, and what's the time?
I am not sure on the time yet because they
Okay.
have not got back to me with the time, but I will let the board know
Okay.
ahead of time.
Thank you.
I have one more thing. Our election is coming up for school board, so I know we might have something more formal where we share information, but we did learn in training that we should be making sure that we let the community know that it is an opportunity for them to get on the ballot and be a part of the board.
All right, thank you both for sharing. Very good. And we'll look for a time for your walk, coming soon. You're gonna give us a time soon. All right, thank you very much. First Saturday in December. Is that the first Saturday?
Yes, I think it's the
December
7th.
7th is the first. Miss Jackson, that is the day of our board retreat. And we are here from 9 until noon. So
I'll see if I can get her to push it back because the second Saturday and the fourth Saturday, I'm at the juvenile center.
Okay.
So I'll
Well,
see if I can
maybe-
take the sleep first.
you know, or it could be that day, just later on in the day. But we are here from 9 to noon. Board members are here for our board retreat. All right. With that being said, a motion to, were there any other announcements? Did I get them all? Okay. A motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
Miss Marvell, I thought you wanted to move an item from that.
I did that at the beginning.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. You sure did. I said it. Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions about the consent agenda? All in favor of approving?
Aye. Did you hear a motion? She didn't hear,
Oh, I'm sorry.
she didn't hear
Was
who.
there
a
a
motion,
motion?
okay.
Dr. May, motion to approve the consent agenda. And Ms. Lane, second. All approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Student representative reports.
Madam Chair, we have the item for action.
I can see
That
it.
will be added.
Oh, okay. Let's wait just a second, students, hold up. We moved something here, I didn't write it down. A motion to approve the items for action. Are we moving on?
Madam President, the item for action is the special board minutes. And I'm making a motion to amend them to add attendance to those minutes. So it was absent the attendees of the board attendees. The correction has already been made by our board secretary, but for sunshine law requirements, we have to make it officially in board meeting. Because it wasn't 24 hours in advance.
Thank you. A motion to approve the amended items for actions.
Special
so
board meeting.
For the
minutes.
special board meeting of October 29th. Madam Chair, I'll second. It's been moved by Dr. May and second by Ms. Maura Real to approve that amended item for action to amend the special board meeting from October 29th. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, thank you so much. Now I'm ready for my student representatives. Y'all do know other districts are trying to get like us and that now people are getting on the bandwagon and they are getting student representatives. And we were among the first in our area to
We
do
were.
so. And I'm so proud of, Dr. Patton, last year I saw, I'm just saying, some student representatives to their school districts at the MSBA meeting.
Yeah, you told me that at the MSBA meeting. Dr. Coleman, so we will make sure that our student reps are there in the future. Student reps, welcome. Make sure you introduce yourself before you start so that our audience, both in-house and online, know who you are.
Good evening, board members. We are presenting the high school report as the student representatives for our high school. My name is Jewel Minner.
And I am Keyshawn Word.
Our live school point system is thriving. Just last Friday, students and teachers received coupons for our school's cafe, the school view brew, as well as PBIS shirts, all thanks to their engagement with our live school point system.
A huge shout out to our senior class who have already earned over $3.5 million in scholarship. This is an incredible achievement and speaks volume about their hard work and dedication.
In honor of Veterans Day, members of the National Honor Society prepared gift bags for veterans at our school. These bags included handmade shirts and heartfelt letters expressing our gratitude for their service to our country.
Early on this evening, the student representative for the Riverview Gardens Board of Education had the opportunity to interview with Fox 2 News on the student voice and its importance. We would like to take this moment to share our deepest gratitude to everyone who has supported us through this journey. We are very grateful for this opportunity.
Lastly, we recently participated in the Battle of Bands, competing against other high schools in our area. Although we didn't win first place, we want to extend a big congratulations to our band and majorette teams for their fantastic performances.
Next, we have some of the upcoming events. I am excited to share that the Senior Class Office and National Honor Society and the FBLA members are joining forces to host a Christmas movie night in December to open the students of the high school. This event will take place towards the end of the school day and will serve as a fundraiser and a toy drive.
As an added bonus, if you donate a toy, you will receive a discount on your ticket. This is a fantastic opportunity to enjoy a festive movie, hot cocoa, and a snack with your peers, while also giving back to those in need during the holiday season.
One thing we are hoping for in the future is to increase the participation from students, especially when conducting fundraisers and community outreach events. Students also believe that there should be more communication and flexibility when organizing these events.
Thank you. This concludes our report.
What is the date? What is the date of the movie to bring the toys?
It's supposed to be December 10th, but things are still getting organized, so it's not finalized yet, but it should be December 10th at 1 o'clock.
And if we wanted to donate toys, would we bring it to the high school office?
Yes.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. And I cannot wait to see the interview. A rumor on the street is you all did a great job, so I cannot wait to see it.
Yes, they did an amazing job. I'll make sure the board gets the copy to the link. It's already online, but they represented Riverview Gardens very well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patton. Before we move on, we just want to digress just a bit. Ms. Mario wants to tell us about the student showcase.
Yes, that was a very important, and I'm sorry that it slipped my mind during that time. But this year, when we went to the school board conference, in the past, they had where just high school students could be a part of the student showcase. They have changed it now. Elementary, middle school, and high school students can represent their school districts in the student showcase at MSBA. So I thought that that was important to share since we have principals here and what have you. So they can, so if you're doing something great at your school and you think that you want to have it showcased, I don't think it's a competition anymore, but just a way to showcase the students. It was really great. This time there was some elementary students that did a showcase for their school district. And so I just wanted to share that we can now, elementary, middle school, and high school students can sign up to be a part of the showcase.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. At this time, I think it's time for the superintendent.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I do want to acknowledge we lost one of our high school students recently. I think it was within the last couple of days. And so we have a 10th grade student at Riverview Gardens High School, who we lost. So I do want to take a moment, a moment of silence, but I do want us to keep their family in our prayers. And then we have collectively reached out to the family to offer support, both social, emotionally, as well as with funeral costs. So just a moment for our 10th grade scholar. Thank you. Please just keep that family in your prayers. And I won't say their name just because I'd like to keep that private, but please keep that family in your prayers. I do want to say Happy Veterans Day to all. If we have any veterans in the room, are there any veterans in the room? Oh, very good, Mr. Swartz. Well, happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. I did not know that. The things you learn. Okay. I also want to, Ms. Lane, you mentioned the award this weekend for Dr. Jordan, but we had one of our employees also acknowledged there, and that's
Yes.
Dr. Melissa Nash, and she's sitting over there. So I do want to acknowledge her. That's okay. It's all right.
And
I knew.
that, yes.
I got you. All right, and then our football team, I did my best to get them a parade, Tracy Nave. But anyway, it rained, so our football team, for the first time since 1998, won Suburban Blue Conference title. And so that's the first time they've done that since 1998. So we're talking 26 years ago. So I want to shout out our high school football team. While we were going to do the parade this past Saturday, but it rained all day long, as you all remember. And so we will acknowledge them at our next board meeting. So we would acknowledge the football team, maybe have pizza or something for them and to acknowledge them, because that is a great accomplishment, and that shows that we are coming back strong, and we didn't come to play. So we are going to do this. So shout out to our football team. Give them a round of applause. What, I'm sorry, Dr. Smith. Go high school. Go high school. Dr. Smith happens to be the high school principal, in case no one picked that up. Our high school, speaking of high school, they also hosted their first annual, I said first annual, so that means that it needs to happen again, Haunted Hallways. And it was done by the senior class as well as the student council. And I understand we had a lot of our elementary students there. So thank you all for hosting that. I saw pictures. It looked like a great time. I was scared to come because of the haunted hallways. So, but thank you all for doing that as well. Our coffee talk hosted by our family engagement specialist, Tiara Armin, also went well a couple of weeks ago. Our fitness court is in. We were going to have a grand opening for that, but rain put that off. So we will share a new date that we will do the ribbon cutting for our fitness court that is at our high school. And then I do want everyone to know that on November 26th, which is our next board meeting, it will also be our town hall meeting. Our town hall meeting will take place right after our board meeting. We will share information on our APR, attendance, student suspensions, student support information in terms of how we're supporting our student, and then our district surveys. So that will be November the 26th. That meeting will be held at Westview Middle School. And so we will get more information out on that. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At this time, the items.
Moving to items for information. Okay. Our first item up for information is Board of Education meeting schedule. Making this presentation is Shay Fields. Although Shay was looking at me, I think she wanted me to do it, but and this is in conjunction with policy BDA board meetings. Thank you, Ms. Fields.
Hi, thank you. I hope I'm not incorrect, Dr. Patton, but the 26th, we have it at Meadows.
Oh, you are right. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All
I'm
right, so,
sorry. I
I'm
said
just
Westview, it's Meadows.
Okay, Meadows. I'm just presenting that change so that it's reflected and sent out to everyone for December 10th. Our meeting will take place here at Central Services. And then we have a couple other special meetings. But are there any questions, concerns about the move of the location to Meadows? Each one of you should have received a copy as well.
I just have a question. Is it possible for the board to maybe approve just allowing for space adjustments without having to approve the whole meeting again to amend it? Like, can we just, if you have to make a change because of the AC or something, that we just make a motion to allow that type of change without us having to bring it back to the board to be amended?
It's so whatever the board pleases, because it was brought back
Okay.
for approval. Whenever there's a change, then the expectation is that the board also acknowledges and approves that.
Okay, so
Okay.
I think just for the location purposes, not dates.
Absolutely.
Can I make that motion? I would like to move that for any location changes, for reasons necessary, per the superintendent, that, those adjustments can be made without additional, board approval.
It's been moved by Dr. May and second by Ms. Williams that that it's not necessary to bring it before the board when there's a change in board meeting location.
Per the superintendent.
For the superintendent or whatever the situation may be.
Thank you.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried.
All right, our next item up for information is our quarterly update to our comprehensive school improvement plan. Making this presentation is Ms. Tracy Nave, Assistant Superintendent of Leadership and Accountability, Ms. Deirdre Liddell, the Executive Director of Student, School, and Community Support, Ms. Barbara Sharp, our Executive Director of Continuous Improvement and Title IX, and Ms. Tiffany Buchanan, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. And this is in conjunction with Policy IA, Instructional Goals, Priorities, and Objectives. Ms. Buchanan.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and members of the community. Tonight, we are pleased to present to you updates on 3 of our 5 CSIP goals. Here you see an overview of all 5 of our CSIP goals. Ms. Nave, our Assistant Superintendent of Leadership and Accountability, will begin by sharing the attendance data and updates. Ms. Liddell, in collaboration with Mr. Sistrunk and Ms. Mays, will provide updates on our progress in fostering a collaborative climate and culture. Finally, myself, along with Ms. Sharp and Dr. Hunter, will offer an overview of our efforts and progress enhancing student performance.
Good evening, Board of Education. And before I start, I just want to shout out my Dr. Gerald over there for their fall festival that was also well attended,
okay.
as well as Meadows. I have to support my team, so I want to make sure they are recognized as well. But as we work on our CSIP, we're talking about one of the main strategies is attendance. And tonight, I just want to talk to you about our continuation with Strategy 1, as we did last year. And Strategy 1 simply states that we are creating a district-wide pyramid of attendance interventions and supports monitored through our PLC process. With that, we have 7 action steps here that you can see, one of which is talking about clear policies and procedures, establishing district level and school attendance collaboration teams, having ongoing incentives for students, providing extracurricular activities, as well as including attendance contracts when necessary that address those attendance expectations and consequences, but also resources to provide to students and parents when needed. So when we're talking about attendance, I want to make sure that everyone understands how we get points for attendance, or what that looks like when it's talked about at the DESE state level.
So student attendance tracks students' presence or absence in classes. It's closely linked to academic performance and affecting district funding. This year, we talked about at the beginning of the year how September 25th was that magic date where we get that number that's sent to the state that's talked about all of our students who were enrolled on that day. And we did create a big push to make sure that students were there on that day. So that's a part of the funding. It's always the fourth Wednesday in September. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, whom we say is DESE, mandates that 90% of our students must attend at least 90% of the time in order for us to meet standards. Each student's attendance is calculated by using the hours of absence method. And this method is calculated by dividing the hours of attendance by the total hours enrolled, then multiplying by 100 and rounding to the 10th. Right here, I've listed a chart for you so that you know where we are with the attendance percentage ranges according to DESE and the points possible in each of those areas. So just a quick glance at that, knowing that if our proportional attendance rate is anywhere from 79.9% below, we're on the floor and we won't receive any points. So we've got to get at least to 80% to even get to approaching, which would net us 2 points. 85 to 89.9 would put us on track, and we would earn 3 points for the district. And then, of course, that magic number of 90% or above would be a target where we would earn 4 APR percentage points. Here, I just wanted to show you a comparison of where we are right now. So our current overall district proportional attendance rate is 60.58%. And that's compared to 2024's end of year proportional rate, which was 49.5%. And again, this is 60.58% of our students who are coming 90% of the time. Last year, we ended with 49.5% of our students coming 90% of the time. If you look at our chart, the way it's color coded by each school, you'll notice those schools in the red or pink, that means that we're still on the floor at those schools. We have one school, Moline Elementary, that is at 82.25%, which would put us at that approaching mark, which would give us 2 points if we all at least got there. But right now, as it stands, our overall is still on the floor. We do have three schools, Gibson, Glasgow, and Koch that are right now on the mark. They're moving towards that 80%, which would again put us towards approaching. Our lowest school that we're still having some concerns is at the Success Academy. And that does not mean that it's 14.68% of students there each day. It's 14.68% of those students who are coming 90% of the time. So just remember that when you're looking at these percentages. And so for Q1, I just want to talk about a few of the items that we've been doing across the district as well as in our schools. So we have school task force meetings that are held weekly at our schools. I put a few of the agendas there for you to look at. Then also we have attendance policies and procedures that we put together, and those have been shared with our parents and guardians. We have a school level task force meeting with our chronically absent students. There's a group of students, we have like 85 to 89 and then 80 to 85, where they still have an opportunity to get to that 90%. So our counselors, home to school coordinators are all, and administrators are meeting with those students to let them know how many days. That could be 17 days that you have to come consistently so that you can move over to the 90%. I know, for example, the high school, I know Westview has done a few things. They are having breakfast with those parents, having a donut bar where they're talking to students about what they can do to get themselves to that 90 mark. There's been My Attendance is Poppin'. So we've had different incentives at the schools that have been implemented in the buildings. Our home to school coordinators have conducted 142 home visits, and that's probably increased, but at the time of this report, that's where we were. We have after school programs at all of our schools. Attendance contracts are being enforced. And even our superintendent, Dr. Patton, has tasked the DLT with having attendance talks with families at Father's Walk and other engagement events. So whenever we're in front of any parent engagement events, we're speaking about attendance. It's coming from the district level, so they're hearing it from us as well as from the schools. In addition, we have weekly meetings with our attendance secretaries that's hosted through Ms. Turnipseed so that we can make sure that our attendance reporting is accurate and that that data is being compiled in the best way possible. So at this time, we're going to move over to our collaborative climate and culture strategies and action steps with Ms. Deidre Liddell.
Good evening, Riverview Garden School Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. So we have two SMART goals. Our SMART goals will encompass all of our strategies as we go through our presentation tonight. So with our SMART goals, we plan to improve the climate and culture of Riverview Garden School District by 10% as measured by surveys in comparison to the fall and 2024 and spring 2024 surveys. Our second SMART goal is by 2025, we want to decrease student discipline and office referrals and out-of-school suspensions by 15% as measured by our data in SIS K-12. So a few things that we have planned and we have put on. Starting off, we kicked off the school year with a great back-to-school bash. At our back-to-school bash, we had over 2,500 participants. And it was to the point where when it was time to go, we were trying to move the crowd. But we had a great time and we plan to have a great time next year. Our job fair with Better Family Life in Glasgow Village at the high school, we had students starting at 1 o'clock. And then we had community members come in at 3 o'clock. We had a host of resources and different things there for our families, our community, as well as our students. We've also had great attendance for the most part with our PAC committee, as well as our parent university, and then our Father's Walk. Our Father's Walk series was a really great series. It was first annual, so we plan to do it again next year. Our Father's Walk, we had 715 total participants. That included our fathers from the district, uncles, grandfathers, all male figures, as well as partner agencies that came in and helped support our Father's Walk. So we had a great time there. So we have a few upcoming events. We have our PAC on social emotional awareness coming up on December 2nd. And we'll have Candace Cox of Chaos. On December 11th, we'll also have our Winter Wonderland, and then we'll have our College and Career Readiness, which will be virtual on November 20th. We also had Peace and Gardening, which was through our wellness coordinator. So we've had a host of events through our partnerships and all of our other resources. So it's been great. All right, the next thing I want to bring your attention to is Q1 discipline update. So with our Q1 discipline update, it's not perfect, but each day we're strengthening to get better. We're filling in spaces and we're finding gaps, but we're pretty happy with this data. So as you look at the data, we have decreased by 26% for office referrals for Q1. We have decreased Q1 out-of-school suspensions by 29.8%. And we have decreased by 41.78% for total educational days lost. So we attribute this decrease by strengthening our peer support models, both academically and social, emotional, and behaviorally, utilizing the building and classroom universals and cascades that our team as well as administrators came up with this summer. We've expanded our restorative practices model to travel to elementary schools. We have targeted professional development, and we will continue to grow in this area. That's our hope. All right, next I will have Ishmael Sistrunk.
Good evening again. Excuse me. And briefly just want to talk about our climate and culture survey. That is something that we do every year. And so we're going to be launching that soon. Actually, tomorrow, our surveys will go live. These dates need to be corrected. We actually changed that to again, November 13th through December 13th. So it will go live tomorrow on the RGSD website. If you haven't been on the district's new website, that's launched. It's a really, really great website, and it'll help us with the climate and culture survey because it allows us to send text messages to our families. We have an app now. If you haven't downloaded the app, make sure you download that. But we can send out app notifications to families. We can still do robocalls, emails, and things of that nature. It allows us to post directly to social media. So we're going to use all the powers of the website and the app to promote the survey. But we're also going to do a lot more in-person opportunities in terms of having printed surveys for the custodian and food service team. We'll have our students have an opportunity to take the surveys during class time. We're working with Dr. Patton and with our principals to establish that protocol. Well, at the town hall that's coming up, we'll promote it during our community walk, which had to be rescheduled. We'll make sure we promote it. We're also going to be mailing newsletters to the community, to every home in the community again, and we'll promote it in there again. So our big hope is to really get a lot of community buy-in. So we have surveys for staff, surveys for students. There's one for grades 3 through 5 and one for 6 through 12. And then there's also a survey for parents and community members. So board members are also welcome to take the survey. You are stakeholders of the district. And so please, when you see that, all the staff members, community members who are present, please take the time to fill out the survey. So I've been promising for the past year, we would shorten it up. So the surveys have gone from like 65 questions down to about 20, and even a couple of those 20 are just demographic questions. So it should only take about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes to take the survey. And so we have some information from our fall and our spring results, but of course, we're looking to continue to grow our favorable responses with the upcoming survey. And next we have Mrs. Mays.
I know that feeling, Mrs. May.
I always have to bring it down. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Patton, colleagues, community, and if there are any scholars remaining. Good evening, good evening. Over the summer, in an effort to collaborate and increase our culture and climate, we've met with all district principals over the summer, and elementary principals and secondary principals met collaboratively. And what they did was came up with district-wide universals. So we have district-wide universals in place. We have a set for elementary. So if you go in every building, you should be able to see visuals of how to model hallway behavior. And in addition to the visuals, we have been teaching expanded and brief lessons in the classrooms through our SEL curriculum, as well as our morning meetings with building principals. We also had our first professional development back in August, which was a nice 3-hour professional development for all staff to be able to give them a heads up on the first 30, 60, and 90 days. What to expect the first 30 days, then what to reiterate those 60 days, and then we're getting toward break. So we know we have to come back and do some reiteration of our universals. So we're very happy about that. In addition to support our district-wide universals, we have an elementary matrix that is located in every building, and we have a secondary matrix that's located in every secondary building. Part of being proactive with climate and culture, we also hosted bus simulations during the month of September and October, where our elementary scholars were able to model the proper behavior for getting on the bus, getting off the bus, riding the bus, in addition to just being safe and aware with your surroundings at the bus stop. Those scholars were able to get a certificate to go home, and parents received notification through each building principal's newsletter to go home for those bus simulations. In addition to continue fostering our climate and culture under MTSS, we have refurbished our I-team process, our district I-team process, and we now have it as the I-care.
eye care with coordination, assessment, response, and early education, which really means that early prevention to prevent our scholars from falling through the cracks early on. So it is a universal process for K through 12 for all buildings. It increases the early identification and it aligns with all of our CSIP areas. A good thing about the eye care process is because we're starting early on with early prevention without letting scholars slip through the cracks. And we are also putting interventions and progress monitoring in place. So if that scholar reaches a tier 3 necessary and need that support of special school district, it would be much more likely for it to be accepted as a referral rather than rejected, because we've done that due diligence early on with intervention support and collecting that data to be able to get the rejection levels much, much lower to get those supports for our students. In addition to the new eye care system that we have district-wide, it is also embedded in our Branching Minds system. And Branching Minds has just kicked off with our training, and we divided it up into phases. So that way we can definitely get the buy-in, get the support, and get the understanding that we need. So we did it through super users, and I did discuss this prior about super users. So we did it in 2 phases. This is phase 1 right now, and our phase 1 goals, which are up above, is systematic approach, improved collaboration, and early identification. So our phase 1 staff includes our central service identified staff, our entire MTSS team, all building leaders K through 12, and then the building leaders identified their building staff teams, which is really comprised of the counselors, instructional coaches, as well as their reading specialists. So phase 1 kicked off in September. We did customization for September and October, followed by identifying the staff. And then we just had our first training this past Thursday and Friday. The feedback from those phase 1 participants, our building leaders, MTSS team, central office, was phenomenal. The feedback, and this will really help us be able to fill in the gaps. This will help simplify this process to be able to get that job done and be able to monitor for those students. So we are very, very happy that we are collaborating more cohesively to be able to improve our climate and culture. And the final stages for phase 1 for Branching Minds will be with stage 6 in January, full implementation. And then second semester, we will introduce it to the teachers. So lastly, phase 2 for the 25-26 school year, if approved, teachers, building teams, and family and communication training will then be added for phase 2 once phase 1 is super users or solid with all of their universals and fundamentals. Are there any questions?
We're gonna hold them to the end.
We hold it to the end. Okay, thank you. All right, for our student performance, we wanted to focus intentionally this quarter on strategy 1, which is implementing the POC model in all buildings with fidelity checks. And we want to do that so that we could help reach our SMART goal, which is to increase our number of academic APR points from 66.4 to 78.4, which requires an increase in NPI points in math, science, government, and ELA. And so the next couple of slides we will devote to speaking to the work that's being done in response to the action steps that are listed here. I'll call Dr. Hunter.
Right. Good evening. Riverview Gardens Board, Dr. Tanya Patton, colleagues and community. A couple of board meetings ago, I came to you and I presented MAP data. Since then, we've taken our district star benchmark. And so here in Riverview Gardens, we do have 3 district benchmarks that happen in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And we currently use Star Renaissance to assess our scholars. We use these benchmarks to measure individual and group achievement in reading and math. And we also use this data to make decisions about instruction. So the data before you is comparing STAR from fall 2023 to fall 2024. So STAR reading is given to students in grades 2nd through 12th grade. Some K-1 scholars also take STAR reading, and it's because they have demonstrated proficiency in STAR early literacy, which assesses the reading foundational skills. STAR Math is given to students in 1st through 8th grade, and then students enrolled in Algebra 1 at the high school level. So with looking at this data, you'll see green on the right side. That is to indicate an increase in proficient and advanced scholars when compared to fall 2023. Something else to note is also the number of students who are assessed. In fall 2023, you see that the numbers are quite low. In fall 2024, you may see in some cases that our numbers have doubled. One of the goals of this administration has been to make sure that all scholars are tested. And so we did reach that goal to make sure that we had at least, I want to say it was about 90% of our scholars that were tested with STAR reading and math and early literacy. And just for a second, I just want to give kudos to our building leaders, our students, our communications team who also communicated it on our kiosk out here in the front, and then also our parents for making sure that they brought the scholars to school so they could actually take the test. And so that's just kudos to them. This chart also, and this chart was shared with DLT as well as CNI. This is not the document in its entirety. This is just a quick overview. But when you use the document in its entirety, it also breaks down not only by grade level, but grade level by building. And so this tool is also used for district leadership, for the district leadership team, as well as CNI, to identify buildings at grade levels where there may be struggling in reading and math. And so we'll kind of speak to that work here in a second, as far as how we're using our content coordinators, instructional coaches, what have you, to target that support in the building. This is our early literacy. And as I stated, early literacy assesses reading foundational skills as well as early numeracy. So kindergarten and 1st graders are required to start with early literacy. And as I stated, they can test out of it. But you may see in the data that some students may still take early literacy, and it's because they may be struggling with reading. And so you'll see here when you're looking at the data, we do have an increase in scholars who are either meeting or exceeding with early literacy. And that's something positive, because that means that more students in our lower grades are actually showing mastery or proficiency in some of the reading foundational skills. And so this is something positive to also celebrate. So now I'll kind of lend myself to Ms. Sharp. Oh, no, you, sorry.
Mrs. Mays alluded to our Branching Minds platform. And so this diagram that you see here actually comes from our Branching Mind platforms, and it depicts our scholars' foundational skills in ELA and math in terms of the percentage of scholars in each tier level. So the cut scores depicted in this data, and it's important to note that the scores depicted in this data are in response to Senate Bill 681. And so the data that Dr. Hunter just showed is in response to the state standards as identified by the state, those standards that students have to master with that. So those cut scores are different. So currently we have 1,580 scholars in grades 1 through 6 who have been identified as meeting the requirements to receive a reading success plan. And so what we have in Branching Minds, it shows us that information, and it allows us to progress monitor our students according to that. So the next few slides will provide information into how we're addressing not only the data with Senate Bill 681, but also the data that Dr. Hunter just talked about too. I know the numbers are very small to see, but if you would like to know what those numbers are, I can let you know that as well.
Good evening. Good evening. To the Riverview Garden School Board, Superintendent Patton, colleagues and members of community. Tonight I will continue the part of the presentation that relates with the CSIP and provide updates with student performance section as it relates to professional learning communities work, specifically with Solution Tree. I am really pleased. This year has been a great start of the year. We have worked with CNI, Leadership and Accountability, as well as the Office of Continuous Improvement, and we have worked very cohesively to plan and coordinate our work And so this slide here, strategy 1, action step 1, is reflective of unit planning. And so what you see here is not only the actual lesson plan that was used for the opening PD that occurred on August 14th and 15th. You also see evidence of the high school team engaged in the unit planning. So that information is there for you. I didn't hear anyone shout for high school, go high school. High school it is. Next, I'm moving to strategy 1, action step 4. And this is still a continuation of this process. So now we are engaged in monitoring the work. So this is a sample of fidelity check. And in this example, we have Gibson Elementary School, and their literacy coach is engaged in this process. So we've had an opportunity to visit 2 schools. Mrs. Buchanan and I had the opportunity to participate in this walkthrough process, as well as other members from the curriculum and instruction department. And so you also have a tool that's attached. That is the actual tool, fidelity check, that is used through Solution Tree. And I have modified that tool. So I am doing supplementary reinforcements by visiting schools and providing supports to schools. So that is a sample there. Here is strategy 1, and you have several action steps here. Action step number 5 is reflective of the planning, all of the scheduling. You see the plethora of meetings that have been planned for this current school year. So that's the first example I provided. For action step 6, that is examples of professional development that has occurred for principals. And so you have those PowerPoint presentations there. And then moving to action step 7, that is beginning looking at a draft of a plan in which we're beginning to look at a handbook that will be used for the upcoming year. If you look on page 14, if you're able to see that, that page begins a process and lets you know some additional planning that is going on in that particular document. We also have an internal sustainability report, which really takes the current work that's part of the contract with Solution Tree, and we're looking to try to see how we can apply that so that we can replicate that work later. I'm very pleased to support, to announce that our superintendent has plans for December 2nd, in which we will have an additional professional development in which all schools will be able to come together and begin continuing this planning and this process. So that is the information I have at this time. I believe at this time we are ready for, look over my shoulder. She's back, Dr. Hunter.
All right, so in our CSIP plan, we state, oh, well, guess I'm moving too fast. There we go. Strategy 1 also states that we'll utilize collaborative data teams to examine student performance data, establish tiered interventions, and refine curriculum and instruction. And a lot of that work is done. I heard Mrs. Buchanan as well as Ms. Mays mention Branch and Minds. Our data does flow right to Branch's Minds, our assessment data. And so that is something that we are using to help with the tiered interventions, but also in response to the data, we have conducted data dives with our administrators and our instructional coaches. The pictures that you see here on the right shows the summer data dive that took place with the principals. During that time, we were looking at the MAP data, the MAP item breakdown, which I shared with you all when I showed you all the MAP data, which identified our strengths and opportunities for growth. From that data, we then identified essential standards. With the instructional coaches, we've sat down with those essential standards, and using our fall STAR data, we are beginning to track those essential standards. And so what that looks like, you have access to click it, but what that looks like is we picked out those essential standards that are going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. And we had discussions about what we can do as instructional coaches to really further that work. And our content coordinators are also helping with that. So they are providing differentiated building support with our content coordinators, which is Mrs. Tanya Ross, Dr. Jordan, and Mrs. Kim Mott. And so they go in and they provide support to teachers, building leaders, as well as instructional coaches. Also, we talked with the instructional coaches and building administrators about building rigorous assessments in our PLC, which is a part of the PLC process, because it's question number 2, how will we know if students know it? And so oftentimes we find that the questions on the assessments that are made by teachers are not rigorous. And so I've gone into the PLCs, and we've also trained instructional coaches and administrators to kind of have discussions about what rigorous assessments look like. And we're using the DESE item specs to really help us break down what those standards mean and what it means to have them mastered. So now at this time, are there any questions for the team? Oh, I'm sorry.
She took my shining glory was this part right here. But so at this time, are there any questions from any of those 3 strands?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ms. Sharp, my question. Ms. Sharp, on the fidelity progress report summary document, is this information shared with the schools?
Most
with the
definitely.
teachers?
Yes, so that process is a process in which the principal and their solution tree coach goes through that process, and so they review the data. And so what I am going to do is to go in between. So I will be following up. So once we just had our first fidelity check, and then I will be following up to provide supports as we continue through that process. But yes, it is shared with the principal.
And with the staff?
The principal should be sharing it with the staff. And if that is not occurring, then I will support schools in that regard.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I have just a couple of questions. The first one is, with the climate and culture, how are the counselors really following the comprehensive guidance program to make sure that they're pushing into the classroom and supporting content to help students with character development and everything else?
Yes, so the counselors go in and we have classroom lessons. They have a schedule of classroom lessons, as well as we have outside providers, and they schedule outside providers to come in and do some of those other supplementary lessons as well. We also have some smaller group sessions where if a student needs to be pulled for small group, or if there needs to be an individual session, then we do that as well.
So do we have content that they use consistently across the district, or do the counselors kind of come up with lessons and activities on their own?
So it's a couple ways. So
Okay.
we use the Standards for Missouri Model of Guidance
Mhm.
from the website. So with the website, they have all of the lessons and everything planned, but we tweak it to our population.
Okay.
And then also we have a shared drive, and in that shared drive, over a couple summers ago, we had counselors and social workers sit down and create plans within that shared drive that are already tweaked for our student population.
So when the counselors have to document the percentage of time spent on different counseling responsibilities, is it showing that they are really pushing into the classes, or they're handling more of other
We're still high as far as response.
Okay.
We're very still high for response. So we do have time task analysis, and in those time task analysis, we are very high for response. We have an open door policy where scholars are not signing up to see their counselor. If a scholar needs to see their counselor, a scholar can come and see their counselor whenever they need to.
Okay, then the other question is related to truancy. I think we've talked about this all the time about utilizing that system to address student attendance. Are we now trying to do that? I'm just trying to see where we at. I know that you don't want to punish the parent, but I mean, I'm just trying to see where we are in kind of implementing that.
Yeah, so we're always going to stand kind of at the line for that, because when we do truancy reports and when we do educational neglect hotline calls, they're so understaffed that a lot of times they're not even taking our abuse calls. So with that, we try and do our best to build those relationships with parents instead of swatting hornets. We want to make sure that we're not upsetting them and pushing them farther away, and we're pulling them in. So we do stand right in the, right on the line with that. Sometimes we will, go ahead and make that hotline call and take the risk of it being rejected, and even those truancy reports. But we try to add as many resources as possible, but all of the counselors are part of that attendance task force as well.
Okay, my last question is on, I think Ms. Nave was talking about the attendance, data. So, our calendar shows that it is 171 academic days for the students. So from that, that's where we can suggest that students cannot go over what, 17 days? Okay.
And that's
And we
really
got kids that's already
already
at
there.
that point. Okay.
And well, that's one of the things that we try to talk to our parents about, or I even spoke to some of our team members last year, because I figured out we've got to talk in a way that our families understand this whole 90-90. And so I framed it in the way of, we have 17 sick days. Just like you receive sick days on your job, I know how many sick days I receive. And so parents understood that part. Once your child has reached 17, and I really started telling 15, because when we get that close, especially at this point in the semester, you still have a long time to go. We know that there's going to be cold and flu season and things like that. But we really need our families to understand that each child gets 17 sick days, even if we look at 8 for first semester, 8 for second semester, that you're using only for that. And that includes those doctor's visits. We need them to schedule those after school or on days that we're out. We were out on November 5th. Schedule those dentist appointments and those doctor's visits on those days so the students can be in school and we can have that. But if you're out in the community, please just let your families know. 17 sick days, 8, let's just try to do 8 in the first semester, 8 in the second semester, so that the children can still be on track for 90-90.
Okay, and then a suggestion for communications, Ishmael. I know that state representative has a newsletter every Friday. And she would put anything in there for the community. I know that the county councilwoman and the state senator, when I sent something about the clinic, they put it in their newsletter. So I think that would be a good way for us to push it out if we can get it to them.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Okay.
definitely share that information with them as well. Thank you for that.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I do want to comment, one of the things we are focused on, board members, is building relationships with our community. That is very important to me. I think that if they trust us and they know us, then they call us when there are difficulties so that we can help support them. While I know our attendance is not where we'd like it to be, or our suspensions or office referrals, I don't want us to breeze over that. It has greatly improved. And I think that is a collective effort of us building relationships, reaching out. Will we get to the point, Dr. May, when there's our truancy issues? Absolutely. But what I want to focus on is making sure that they have everything they need in the home. If they need to wash clothes, if they need food, if they need lights, I want to make sure, and I don't want to say I want our team to make sure that we are focused on making sure that they are meeting the basic survival and then getting their babies to school. So yes, we will get there, but first we're going to build that relationship with them.
I did have a question for Ms. Nave. Ms. Nave, I remember one year I was going to SSD meeting and car was in the shop, so I went by bus. And it was a student, the meeting was going to be at 7 o'clock, and the student from Riverview Gardens was on his way to work that evening. And so I'm just wondering, have we seen a decrease in the number of students that are basically working jobs to support their family?
Absolutely, especially after the pandemic. More students began working. We've even created a system at the high school. Of course, we have our supervised business education program and our supervised marketing program, which is, co-op to us.
Right.
We have that, but we also have students, because the need is so great, where seniors they come on an A-day schedule or a B-day schedule to support. We want to make sure that, we're providing them with the education, those who are on track for graduation, of course. But we want to make sure that we're providing them with opportunity to still provide those basic basic needs that they need at home and allow them to work. Because we do, the truth of the matter is, we do have a lot of students who are working at night, getting off late in the middle of the night, and then needing to come to school that very next day. So we understand that. We are supporting that with our families and making sure that there are opportunities for them to still get credit for that work experience at the high school and also at our Success Academy. So yes, we recognize that and are putting things in
I was
place to
just-
support them
I was
as
just
well.
wondering if there's a way to make contact with some of those employers, just to let, to discuss that with them. I know they're about the dollar, but, to discuss maybe coming up with a solution where that student can be considered quote unquote, sort of a co-op, so to speak, where it pertains to their schooling.
Yes, and they don't want us to call their employer because it's gonna mess up their hours.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
100 years ago, when I was in high school, employers wouldn't allow students to work past a certain hour. I thought it was a law.
It is.
We don't have a law about that anymore.
It is. However, we have many employees we have many employers who do not go by that. And if the students are requesting it, their parents are requesting it, they work.
So that's illegal.
It is.
Because there is a child labor law.
Yeah.
And I think it's, after, what is it, that students in school are not supposed to work. I think it's during the school week. After, they're not supposed to work. I think it's after 9.
I thought it was
It
9
might
or
be
10.
earlier than
I don't
that.
know. I'll review that. I thought it was about 9 or 10.
So, even on the weekends, they're not supposed to be required to report to work before 10 a.m. And if they worked the night shift or worked late the night before, they are not supposed to work early the next morning. So there are child labor laws. Unfortunately, if the parents don't, I called and said, no, my son won't be there. He will not work overnight. If parents don't support that, then the employer, they're just looking to make money. But there are child labor laws.
So this is a chronic problem, and it isn't just in our community, and it is nationwide, and we know that. So I'm just, every time I hear it, my heart breaks because I know my history. And I'm just wondering, is it as simple and basic as trying to impart our history into some of our families to understand the importance of, if you don't go to school, everything else that you all work real hard for. But if you're not there to receive it, that's the, what do you call that, the base? That's the base, is you gotta be there. So I don't know what we gotta do. I really don't, but we need, something is not clicking. And again, not just this district, not just Missouri,
No.
it's nationwide.
Nationwide, yes, it is. We'll get there.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Great job. Great job, team. Great job. Great information. Great job. Thank you. Moving into our items for discussion. Our first item up for discussion is our surplus library books. The presenter is Ms. Tanya Ross, our ELA curriculum coordinator, and this is in conjunction with policy DN, surplus of district property. Ms. Ross?
Good evening, school board, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. Tonight, I'm offering up for discussion, our library collection. In the library world, we call it weeded books. But books that are outdated, books that have been damaged, books that haven't been in circulation for some extended period of time, they are pulled from the collection. But before we offer those books outside of our district, Of course, your job is to deem them surplus. At Meadows Elementary, we're looking at about a little bit over 1,000 books. And then, I'm sorry, 556 books. And then over at Moline, we are asking for a release of a little bit over 1,000 books. Another reason why we try to keep the books weeded in our library is because we try to keep the collection within 10 years. And in order to do that, you have to aggressively weed the library as well as purchase new books to keep the library up to date. Are there any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think I mention this every time for an opportunity for the community to get the books. Are we incorporating that before we donate it to anybody else?
Yes, so our schools have different opportunities. First, the process normally is to give the books to our students. And then when they have special nights and our parents attend the events, those books are also made available then. Anytime the students and their families enter the buildings or leave the buildings, they can see the books. The books are actually visible in many of the schools for the walkthroughs. Some of the local communities, the biggest issue has been the number of books that we're trying to have released at one particular time. Before, we talked about local doctor offices and some of the smaller venues. But for the numbers that we produce, a couple things would have to happen to get in some of these smaller areas. Number one, we would have to have the manpower. Last year was the first year that our facilities actually took books to another location. In the past, we had companies come to our district to pick the books up. And so in the age of technology, if they are not a vendor who actually collects books, it's a very difficult process to get the books into the immediate community at a smaller rate.
Okay, I would like to propose that all of our surrounding municipality rec centers receive some donation of books so that they can give some out. As the families come in, that would be a way that we can kind of reach them. And then some of our community people. Just as a recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ross. Our next item up for discussion is the Metro Theater Community. Making this presentation is Ms. Lakina Curtis. She's the Director of Federal Programs, and this is in conjunction with IGA Basic Instructional Programs. Ms. Curtis?
Good evening, Review Garden School Board, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. This evening, I bring for discussion information on a partnership with Metro Theater Company. This company has been in service since 1973 and touring nearly 40 productions, with 30 of them being original works and performing internationally. The Metro Theater Company is inspired by the intelligence and emotional wisdom of young people and foster an inclusive community. They believe that through theater, in particular, they can bridge cultural divides and produce work that provoke thought and prompt action. In fact, the students at Glasgow Elementary, through a current partnership with the Believe Project, have had an opportunity to work with the Metro Theater Company, and they've had an experience to develop an actual play. And I believe it was either called The Last Stop at Market or The Spills at Sea, which actually turned into production that they've actually gone to go back and see. These experiences work to develop an increase in literacy as they learn to write plays, read them, and then act them out. But the most important part of all of this is that the characters look like them. This does have a budget impact to be paid through federal programs, federal funds, to exceed no more than $15,000, $150 per workshop and $750 per touring. Those are different prices. So a workshop is when they come to a particular classroom. So that's the difference between the two. or when a classroom, they bring like a play to you, if that makes sense. So they bring a bus and the actors and all of that, which I don't know how they're staying in business for that small price, but I'm gonna take it. The MOU is pending legal at this time, and it is recommended that the school board approves the partnership between the Metro Theater Company to provide workshops for scholars within the district using federal funds. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, not necessarily a question, but just a comment. Oh, thank you so much. Just a comment. Riverview Gardens, and Ms. Nave can probably, one of the ways that I started actually volunteering my time with Riverview Gardens was they had a speech, drama, and debate team.
Absolutely.
And they had a phenomenal award-winning, they never placed under third in anything that they went in. So I'm just really excited to see this going to the elementary school. So hopefully
To grow.
it may grow into us being an award-winning speech, drama, and debate team. Yes, ma'am.
I used to be on the debate team.
Me too.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Our next item up for discussion, yes, is the memorandum of understanding for student support services. Making this presentation is Ms. Deirdre Liddell, and this is in conjunction with policy DJF purchasing. Ms. Liddell?
Greetings again to the Riverview Gardens Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Memorandums of understanding play a crucial role in supporting the Riverview Gardens School District. Our partners bring resources that enhance and positively impact student academic, health, and social-emotional outcomes, while also improving the overall school's climate and culture. I bring before you today two MOUs. One is for BJC, which has previously been vetted by our legal team, and then Better Family Life, which is now pending legal review. There is no budget impact to the district, and the Office of Student Support Services is requesting approval for the attached MOUs for the 24-25 school year for the next board meeting. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Liddell. Our next item up is the declare surplus buses. Making this presentation is our interim CFO, Mr. Randy Charles, and this is in conjunction with policy DN surplus district property.
Good evening. You see in the item for information, there are two buses, currently Riverview-owned buses. You may recall when First Student took over contracted services, Riverview still owns some buses. As those buses have aged out over the years, they've been surplused and sold. We have two buses right now that are beyond repair. One, I believe, is 11 years old. The other was 15 years old. So before we can sell or otherwise dispose of those, you would have to declare those surplus. It's just information at this time, and we'll bring it back for action next meeting.
Just a quick question. So do they have any fair market value at all?
For my experience with surplus buses, you'd be lucky to get a few $1,000s out of each of them. And new, they're $80,000 buses.
So what about when they go to like some type of salvage junkyard or somewhere where they get parts off of it? Is there opportunity to make more when it's broken down from?
That's a possibility. Sometimes salvage yards will be interested. One interesting one I've seen is these companies that operate float trips down in southern Missouri. Sometimes will buy old buses. So First Student has agreed to help us market those and see what offers we get on them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Our last item up for discussion is the LDR contract extension to retain the services of Mr. Charles through the end of this school year. Making this presentation is Mr. Travis Ford, the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and this is in conjunction with policy GDA support staff positions, DA fiscal responsibility, and DJF to purchasing. Mr. Ford.
Good evening again, school board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community.
Today I bring before you a contract extension for LDR services. The LDR services has been utilized in the past with Riverview Garden School District for consultation services for critical and essential positions. Currently, we are using LDR services to provide an interim CFO, and we've been using their services since September. The interim CFO position provides, and the contracted services has been critical with the maintaining of the essential and effective functionings of our school district. Due to this position becoming vacant after the start of the school year, which is after hiring season is over because most people are under contract, we have not been able to successfully attract a suitable candidate. We believe that it is crucial and critical that we utilize the experienced CFO services provided by LDR for the remainder of the school year. This will allow us to continue to meet the financial goals and needs of our district as we begin to search for a qualified CFO during the normal K-12 hiring season. This will have a budget impact. It will be at the current rate that the contract is now, with an extension of to the end of the school year, not to exceed the total amount of $140,000. A budget transfer will be necessary to the contracted services account to cover the cost of the temporary CFO for the remainder of the school year. It is recommended that the school board approve the extension of the contracted services with LDR for the qualified and experienced school CFO until the end of the school year in an amount not to exceed $140,000. Are there any questions?
Yes. I just have a question. During the pandemic, we were allowed to, work from home and kind of process things. Are we offering some type of hybrid opportunities? He expected to always come in, or can he work from home? I know he said something about spending time with his grandchildren. So I'm just asking because, the four walls is not necessary anymore. But I don't know what's extended and what's going to be mandated if we don't put something in here about location in the contract.
So with negotiating the extension of the contract, we have worked, the superintendent has worked to allow some flexibility on the amount of days present in the district, on the amount of days when he's able to work remote, so that we could make sure that we can accommodate the scheduling of the interim CFO and the status of the contract, so.
Okay, thank you. So, with that, does it include any expense related to internet service or some type of technology? No,
At this
you're
point,
saying
it
no.
doesn't
Okay.
include any additional expenses in that.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Thank
Other
you.
questions?
So,
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Ford. Madam President, this concludes our items for discussion.
Thank you. At this time, the time is 8:53. May I have a motion to?
No, we're
Did I
not.
skip something? You look like skip.
No,
That's the
I
last
think
one.
that's
You
it.
did- Yeah, that's the last one. You did the consent agenda earlier.
No more questions? No. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Say, don't yell at me.
All right. It's been motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody want to stay here? Not me? Okay, goodbye.
And happy Founder's Day to the ladies of Sigma Gamma Rho. I see one person there.